Okay, we are going to talk about every important injury update here. Now, not only is this going to help you out for your fantasy football drafts, but I mean, it's right around the corner. We got to get ready for week 1. We got to figure out who we can actually play at the beginning part of the year. But before we get into it, I have to let you know that I made the biggest mistake in my entire life. Probably not up for debate either. I said that if we would hit 90,000 subscribers before the season started, we would do that 24-hour live stream we've been talking about. I thought there was no way it was happening, but look at the subscriber count. We're getting to 90,000 subs before the season starts. So we are going to fire up that 24-hour live stream draft marathon starting Monday morning. We have a million awesome analysts to come on to draft with us, guys, that I promise you're going to love. So, of course, if you want to draft with myself and then also some people that are a lot smarter than me, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Go use promo code FLOCK on Underdog. Underdog's best ball, so that means there's no time commitment at all during the season for you. The perfect place to get in an extra fantasy football draft this year. You're not replacing your main league with Underdog Fantasy, but when you go and sign up with promo code FLOCK, you're going to be able to draft with us every single night on the live stream. You're going to be able to draft with us in that 24-hour stream. We're going to get a 100% deposit match. We're going to get our 2022 fantasy football rankings, our 2022 fantasy football draft guide, which will help you if you've already had your draft. And they also just released some player props. Thomas, can you just show a little screen of those for week 1? So we'll have a player prop video coming for you soon. But let's go through, let's dive into these injury updates, and let's start it off with what we have with the Los Angeles Rams with Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers. So I know we had a lot of people telling me, Mason, Akers isn't playing the beginning of the year. Stop wasting your 5th round selection on Cam Akers. And maybe we have wasted too many 5th round picks on Cam Akers, but he's playing week 1. I understand he missed some practice over the past few weeks. Based on the reports that I'm reading, based on everything I'm reading, it was a soft tissue injury not related to his torn Achilles. I mean, you had the same thing with Darrell Henderson. Both of these running backs have been missing time with undisclosed soft tissue injuries. However, they're both good to go week 1. Like you can see, Cam Akers has his player props on Underdog Fantasy against the Buffalo Bills. Now, of course, I can't sit here and say, okay, with Cam Akers, there are no injury concerns. There are going to be injury concerns. This is a running back that's 12 months removed from a torn Achilles. This is an injury that has devastated any running back career it's affected over the past pretty much in all of the NFL history. Now, at the same time, I will say I think that today's age is a little bit different and that you're seeing players across different sports like Kevin Durant come back, be just fine. We get Cam Akers back within 6 months. We get James Robinson looking like he's back. So across the board, I think that if we are looking at torn Achilles data from 10 plus years ago, it's no longer relevant for the recovery process of these players in 2022 with our modern medicine. I'm excited to see Akers week 1. I'm not expecting him to be end of a rookie season, Cam Akers, but I'm expecting him to be significantly better than what we had at the end of last year. Darrell Henderson playing as well. I mean, if Darrell Henderson were to miss, then of course Akers is much more appealing, but he's going to be in there. I think that you can start Cam Akers as a low-end running back too, borderline flex play. But obviously, we kind of want to see the production before you put him in your starting lineup. And it's not a great matchup at all going up against Buffalo. Now, going over to our next call, this is not someone that you would have drafted in your league, but I definitely think it makes an impact in his offense. Greg Dulcich here hits the IR. And this is massive for Albert O. I mean, here with Albert O, there were reports coming out that the rookie out of UCLA was going to be the receiving tight end this year, and Albert O was going to be asked to stay in line, and Albert O was going to be asked to block. Looks like that can't happen anymore. Looks like they have to use Albert O as a pass catcher, and just removing another pass catcher out of this offense. I'm not going to go out of our way and start moving up Jerry Jeudy, start moving up Courtland Sutton in these rankings. But if we go back to what I was saying a couple of months ago, I was so worried about the Denver Broncos and their overall value, because I was looking at a team that was going to be very similar to last year's Dallas Cowboys, where the Dallas Cowboys last year put up the most points in the NFL, but nobody crushed because it was divided between 4 receivers with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson. And then on top of that, you had Dalton Schultz getting his. You had 2 running backs getting his. So even if that pie was massive, when it's being split into so many different slices, nobody's eating real good. And here, I was worried about that same thing in Denver. I was looking at a Denver Broncos offense that had, a couple stud receivers in Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. Notice that I say Jerry Jeudy first here. But beyond that, they had Tim Patrick. They had KJ Hamler. They had 2 capable tight ends. They had 2 capable running backs. So I was very worried about how spread out this Denver Broncos offense would be with the overall production. But now that we remove one of the pass catchers with Tim Patrick at wide receiver, and we remove one of the pass catchers at tight end here, who was probably going to come away with 3 targets a game, that's a pretty big deal. I think that you can be a lot more excited about drafting Albert O. And at the same time, I think you can possibly ever so slightly get more excited about the wide receivers as well. But now going over to a player that I have drafted legitimately nonstop, Michael Gallup. With Michael Gallup in your shallow redraft league, maybe he's not that appealing, but on Underdog, where it's that best ball format where you have to start 3 wide receivers every week, so you go so deep. Oh my gosh, I have not stopped drafting Michael Gallup over the past few months because you're getting him after someone like Jalen Tolbert. When we've seen Michael Gallup average more targets per game and receiving yards per game than Amari Cooper back in his 2nd season in the NFL, I think that he's a great talent. I think that we can look at the contract and agree that the Dallas Cowboys think that same thing. And the reports we're getting out of Dallas now, well, first report that we got, so he's avoiding the PUP. That is massive. I was drafting Michael Gallup thinking that we weren't going to have him for the first month. But now this shows us that, hell, he's probably coming back week 3, probably coming back week 2. But we just got another report saying, oh my gosh, the recovery has been phenomenal with Michael Gallup. I don't want to say you can start him through the first month of the season. What's going to probably end up happening is probably going to miss the first 1 to 2 weeks, but we may actually get him back in week 3. And then if he comes back week 3 and then he has a couple weeks to just work himself in, you may be able to start Michael Gallup as the 2nd wide receiver in a Dallas Cowboys offense that is desperate for pass catchers right now, because obviously we have James Washington hitting the PUP. So very excited about Michael Gallup. I think that he can be a wide receiver 3 this year, and you were getting him as like a wide receiver 5 on Underdog. And now let's go over and look at a slot wide receiver in Buffalo. We have Isaiah McKenzie, who hasn't practiced for about a week now. Now, this is an undisclosed injury. This is going to be something that we have to continue to monitor till Thursday, because remember, Buffalo plays on Thursday. They're going up against the Rams. They're going up against Ramsey. So Stephon Diggs may be going up against Rams. Gabriel Davis going up against nobody. And on top of this, you don't have Isaiah McKenzie, who should be the starting slot wide receiver for Buffalo. So it looks like Thursday night NFL kickoff may be a blow-up Gabriel Davis week. Trust me, I'm not rooting for it. Y'all know Gabriel Davis has been drafted in the 4th round on Underdog Fantasy for the past few months, and I haven't taken him in a single draft in the 4th round. So Isaiah McKenzie, his presence is not necessarily something we're rooting for with all our teams where we have Stephon Diggs. But him being removed from the offense, even if it is just a few weeks, really is going to make so many targets available for Gabriel Davis. Now, our next player is going to be at wide receiver again. Deebo Samuel dealing with the bone bruise. Looks like he's still not at practice, but in reality, I think he's going to be good to go week 1. I mean, he's doing conditioning on the side. You can go and look at player props on Underdog. They already have Deebo Samuel player props up there, so I'd imagine if we needed to be concerned, Underdog wouldn't be putting their money where their mouth is, that Deebo Samuel's going to go out there and get like 90 yards the first week. So if you drafted Deebo, don't worry. If Deebo's healthy, you go through and play him. I have talked about my overall concerns. I definitely don't think Deebo Samuel's the top 5 receiver again this upcoming season, based on the transition to Trey Lance, based on the fact that Deebo Samuel is not getting 8 rushing touchdowns again. But looks like he's healthy, or at least will be healthy, and looks like you should be able to play him. And then our next guy is someone we have been drafting a ton of. Happy to see he's good to go. We have Jaylen Waddle good to go week 1. Jaylen Waddle has missed the majority of preseason practices with a lower body. I've literally been sitting there just pretending like it hasn't happened. I've been trying to drown out the noise because we've drafted so much Jaylen Waddle in the 4th round. Obviously, it's not a great situation when Tua Tagovailoa is your quarterback and you have Tyreek Hill on the same roster. I love the talent. I am going to be a little scared to start Jaylen Waddle week 1 because I don't think it's a great matchup against the New England Patriots. He's missed a decent amount of time over the past month. So if we have a better option than Jaylen Waddle, like someone we're about to talk to a couple plays from now, I think we definitely avoid playing Jaylen Waddle where we can week 1. Now, of course, if you're playing in like a deep dynasty format, Jaylen Waddle is someone you're jamming in. But if you're playing in a casual redraft league, you may have a better option at receiver. Now, our next report is something that I have not heard a lot about, but honestly, it's pretty concerning. Drake London, y'all know he suffered that knee injury preseason week 1. The second it happened, I was sweating. I was like, oh my gosh, we drafted so much Drake London. What happens if he misses a decent amount of time? And then we had a report coming out say, oh, no, the knee injury is not serious. Don't worry about it. Well, Drake London's still not at practice. He suffered that knee injury week 1 of the preseason. For a rookie to miss this much time, unless you're 2014 Odell Beckham Jr., where training camp, preseason, it doesn't matter. You can miss all the time in the world, come back in week 4, week 5, week 6, and then go out there and dominate. I think we need to be worried about a rookie. So with Drake London, obviously you're not doing anything but just keeping him on your bench, but I don't think we're going to be able to start him until we actually see the production. We're going to have to see it before we believe it, even if the matchup looks great early on. Now, going over to our next player is Miles Sanders. And here with Miles Sanders, every single time we've gone to draft him on the live stream over the past month, we'll click on his name. We're like, oh, Miles Sanders fell to the 8th round. Click on his name and it just says, still not practicing. I'm like, oh, okay, dear God, when are we getting this guy back in? But no, Miles Sanders finally back at practice. Great news. I mean, I am still concerned now that it looks like Boston Scott is going to have a role when healthy. Now, we don't even know if Boston Scott's going to be good to go week 1. That is going to be something we have to monitor as well. With Sanders, with him missing so much time, I think it's very similar to Jaylen Waddle. I'm not going to be excited to play him week 1. For the long term, though, I think he should be good to go. And we just kind of have to see how the touches are going to break down in Philadelphia before we go through and plug him in. Now, 2 guys that I am definitely not looking to start week 1. Rondale Moore and Zach Ertz. Now, if we get news that Zach Ertz is going to go on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if it's early on, yeah, I'll go through and I'll play Zach Ertz. But both of these guys are looking like they may potentially miss week 1. And of course, I don't want to make this all about just who you should start, who you shouldn't. But if Rondale Moore, Zach Ertz are missing the beginning portion of the season, and obviously you have no DeAndre Hopkins here as well, be prepared for top 10 wide receiver Hollywood Brown coming in, because we know Arizona's pushing the pace of play. We know that the Arizona Cardinals are looking to throw the ball a lot. So if we have Hollywood Brown as the only option in this receiving game, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs week 1, so we know the Cardinals, they're not going to be able to just go out there and run the ball over and over and over again. No, I think this is going to be a shootout week 1. I think that no matter what, you're not playing Rondale Moore. Probably not playing him until we actually see some production. Zach Ertz, we're going to have to continue to give updates to. But here with Hollywood, he may have a very, very hot start to the season. So if you haven't had your draft yet, maybe you push him up a few extra spots, thinking that you can sell him high by the time we get to week 3 or week 4. Now let's move over to our next guy. It's going to be Isaiah Spiller. Isaiah Spiller back at practice. And honestly, this is going to impact Austin Eckler for me. Austin Eckler, we've had him as a tier 2 running back the entire offseason. I mean, we've come out here and we've said, you know what? He scored 20 touchdowns last year. If we look at his entire NFL career, last season was an extreme outlier. It was an extreme outlier. We're not expecting 20 touchdowns again from Austin Eckler, an undersized running back. So we were a little bit concerned about that. We were concerned about the additional running back talent in this backfield, maybe leading to the Los Angeles Chargers not giving Austin Eckler the outlier type season he had a year ago in terms of his workload as well. But then Isaiah Spiller hurt his ankle and we were like, okay, no, now you can go through. Now you can draft Austin Eckler as a tier 1 running back. But with Isaiah Spiller back at practice, with Sony Michel being added to this backfield as well, I think those concerns that we had with Austin Eckler, they're right back. I don't think he belongs at tier 1. I still have him as running back 3 overall, but I am concerned that we're not going to get the same season we had a year ago with Austin Eckler. And now our next player is going to be at running back, J.K. Dobbins, someone that we have drafted a ton in the 5th round. Latest report that we are getting, week 1 certainly in doubt. Obviously, we had the viral clip on Twitter, J.K. Dobbins limping off the field after practice. That does not look great. Now, what I will say is, when he is healthy, when he is out there playing, he's going to be someone you can put in your starting lineup. We know that this Baltimore Ravens offense, they want to run the ball more than any other team in the NFL. We know the efficiency should be through the roof, given the fact that he's playing alongside Lamar Jackson. Very similar to a lot of the other players that we've talked about on this list, however, you are not going to be able to start J.K. Dobbins until we actually see him on the field and what that workload looks like. Like, it doesn't matter if Dobbins is playing week 1 for me. He's not in my starting lineup, but I'm really hoping he's playing week 1 because I'm worried that we're going to be missing some serious time here with Dobbins. Now, our next guy that we're going to talk about is Brian Robinson officially hitting the PUP. So, I mean, if you can go through in your shallow redraft league, if you can pick him up, throw him on your IR, then yeah, you're good. He's worth the roster spot. But in reality, if you can't, it's going to be very hard to know exactly when he's coming back. He's not eligible to come back until week 5. So I would say if you're playing in a league where you have to just burn a roster spot on him on the bench, probably not drafting him, probably not rostering him. Especially because what happens if Antonio Gibson is given this starting role at the beginning portion of the year and Antonio Gibson goes out there and he looks like a very dynamic, looks like a very talented running back. Not saying it's likely, but I'm saying it's in the range of outcomes. There's nothing worse than what happened with Brian Robinson. But clearly when he hits the PUP, you have to move up Antonio Gibson in your rankings. I'm not playing Gibson week 1. I want to see what the workload looks like. But still at the same time, I think he does project to be a lot better through the beginning portion of the season now. And our last player, our most drafted guy at one point this offseason, Michael Thomas. Oh my gosh, I've been worried over the past few weeks. Michael Thomas has been out of practice with a hamstring injury, but looks like Michael Thomas good to go. Don't worry about it. Honestly, I'd be fine playing Michael Thomas week 1 if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, because if we're looking at this New Orleans Saints roster, we don't really know what to expect with Jarvis. Chris Olave's a rookie. Michael Thomas, every time we've seen him healthy, he's been a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Maybe that's not the case anymore with Winston instead of Drew Brees. But still, I'd be comfortable knowing that Michael Thomas has already been ruled good to go for week 1. I'm good to go to play him. I'm good to go to draft him. I'm not too worried about Michael Thomas anymore. But that's all I got for y'all. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please go down there, drop that like. I'm answering the first 200 comments in this video as I do in every single video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to join the flock and go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up if you want to participate in our 24-hour live stream. But thank you again. I appreciate you, and I hope I get to see you out with the live stream tonight.